Just to introduce myself, I'm Finance and Commercial Director with eDrive Group, and what I plan to run through this morning is essentially introduce ourselves, what we do, what we're working with the TSSG on, and the benefits that we're receiving from working with them. And it's kind of appropriate that you mentioned driving up and down, because a lot of what I'm about to talk about is motor and driving related. Basically, eDrive was formed when eDrive Fleet, which is the business that looks after things like black box telematics installations, so tracking where vehicles are, the speeds they're going at and so forth. We do a lot of camera system work, basically for, again, fleet operators and indeed for personal users as well, and some other innovative technologies there, so really anything auto electrician related. We then merged with Universal Graphics, which is one of Ireland's leading graphics companies. They do a lot of work in the fleet branding space, so there is natural synergies between the two companies joining together. So you would see the likes of the Super Value trailers driving around the place, the Agio and so forth. And we've two relatively new divisions then. My customer is really pushing the Universal Graphics side of things into the digital signage space. So there's a lot of synergies, I guess, in terms of interactive content and digital content basically on those screens. And then the program we're here to talk about today, which is My Safe Drive, which is a new business unit for us. This is some of the companies that we've worked with and the accreditations we have. A good example there, and a current one, would be Next, who in the UK we have installed handbrake alerts on all of their trucks. So basically a driver opening the door of their truck to get out, and if they haven't got the handbrake on, they will receive an alert and obviously know not to get out of the truck and leave the truck without a handbrake on. It's probably the same thing we have in most of our cars. If you open the door and your lights are still on, you get an alert basically. But a lot of the technology that we're looking at and that we're putting into these vehicles will probably become a standard in a few years' time, but we're in the business of retrofitting it to the existing fleet. And the reason Next is a nice example is because we've also just received our first order for their fleet branding work. The environment we operate in, there's a lot of things happening, there's a lot of things changing. There's an increasing presence of technology in vehicles. Tracking is a good example. There's a lot of that happening there. Most cars these days have car kits. And if anything, I think there's probably going to be more and more of this into the future. If you're already putting a SIM card into the vehicle, then why wouldn't it become a Wi-Fi hotspot? And we've all seen kind of the future of the driverless car, and so there's going to be more and more technology integration in vehicles. One thing we've been noticing, and I suppose that's where we've spotted a gap and an opportunity in the market, is in the telematics space, the black box tracking. Really there's been, I suppose, two major developments there. One is over time, the traditional fleet operators, so anyone who has a fleet of 50 or 100 vehicles out there, sees a huge value in knowing where those vehicles are at any given time. Looking at the routes that they're traveling, are their drivers traveling at the optimal speed limit and so forth. A more recent development and a more recent iteration of that is that insurance companies are also taking a big look at telematics. And this really has an opportunity to drive it into the mass market. So the insurance companies get a lot of benefits. They know where the vehicle is parked at night. They will know who the driver of the vehicle is. They'll know, are they speeding, are they braking, going around corners at excessive speeds and so forth. So it really allows the insurance companies to much better assess the individual risk that they're actually taking in insuring that driver. The companies that have been facilitating the insurance telematics market, though, have really gone the opposite end to what's happening in the fleet space, where there's a lot of reporting, a lot of additional functionality. They've really stripped all of that out, and what you have on the insurance end of the scale is a really slimmed down version of the black box telematics services. And really what we're looking at an opportunity to do is pull something into the middle. most of the people who have insurance telematics get really very limited benefit out of it, other than they get a discounted insurance premium. And there's a lot more benefits that they can get out of it. We can give them interactive feedback as to how they're driving, what they can do to improve their driver score, and provide a whole range of information around that. So it's really about putting the information back in the consumer's control and allowing them to derive the actual benefit from it themselves. The other key point is a lot of the industry players are all focused on their own niche in that market. So tracking companies are doing tracking, camera companies are doing cameras. We work closely also with an Israeli technology company, they're Mullarkey, and again, their product only does what it does. It doesn't have the features of a camera, and it doesn't have ongoing feedback to the end consumer and the driver. The nice thing about a lot of this is it can be integrated together. So really, to get the top end benefit of it, you'd include a black box tracking device to give you the feedback, a camera system in case you do get involved in an accident, you have full video recording of exactly what happened, and the mobile eye technology actually intervenes with the driver to try and prevent those accidents actually taking place. So it's fairly key technology. Again, the environment we're operating within there has a number of different competing technologies and devices. So there's not just one black box tracking company, there's many of them. There's many versions of tracking. There's an OBD plugin which goes into the OBDI slot on a vehicle. Probably not everyone knows you even have one of these, but it's the equivalent to a SCART connection on the back of your television is how I would describe it. And basically, if you bring your car into the garage, the garage can plug into that device and get feedback from the engine. One of the benefits of tracking, though, is, well, why do you have to wait until you drive into the garage? If there's a fault on your engine, we can actually pick up that information and transmit it back to the garage and actually have the garage reach out to you as the consumer and say, we noticed there's a problem with your engine, and would you like us to book it in for a service? There's also a lot of other technologies coming into play. There's a lot of smartphone apps being developed in this space. Again, they give some of the information, they have some of the functionality, and there's a trade-off there, I guess, between the cost of the black box and the camera installation versus what you can get with a smartphone app. And as I said, really what we're working on is a program we're calling My Safe Drive, which is a driver safety and customer loyalty program. So the key aspects of this are feedback on the driving behavior, things that they can do to improve their risk profile, and then the customer loyalty program around the various benefits that we see that we can derive. So for instance, the example there, the motor manufacturer or the motor dealer, basically, who notices now there's a fault in the engine, the ability to reach out to the consumer and actually say, well, if you book it in next Wednesday, we can give you a discount on that price and so forth. One of the key things we want to do here is leverage the benefits of telematics for multiple purposes. So it's not just the insurance company that will receive the benefit, it has to be the consumer receiving the benefit at the centre. Fine, we can share some of that information with the insurance company, provided the consumer is happy to do so, but equally we may want to share it with the garage, with fuel sellers and so forth. So there may be a whole range of different potentially people interested in that same information. Initially, we would see the launch of the product driven by the insurance companies, simply because they have fairly big customer bases as it stands. Some of the companies in the UK are doing very clever things. One of them essentially offers insurance, but only for the first 10,000 miles. That means they appear very cheap on all of the price comparison sites, but it also drives a lot of business towards them. We're also, I think, at a tipping point here. So the cost of the technology has dropped massively over the last number of years, and also a lot of the mapping technology and the speed limits available and things like that. A lot of that has just really come into place over the last 4 or 5 years. So we really are at a tipping point there where we believe that now is the time for this to go mass market. And as I said, there are gaps in the market simply because a lot of the existing operators are focused fairly narrowly on their own line of business. And the key concept here is one cost and many revenues. So how does that bring us to the TSSG? Our journey with the TSSG began initially with an innovation voucher. And really the benefit we see with the TSSG is it gives us access to a much wider depth of IT resources and skill sets. We're not a technology company, we're not a programming company. We would struggle to deliver this on our own. And through our interaction with the TSSG and looking at some of the other projects they've successfully delivered, we have a level of comfort that we've seen what they've delivered for other customers. We see the technologies they're working with, and they're able to add value to our business problem and the proposed solution. We work quite closely there with one of the research unit managers, Eric Robson. I don't think he's here today, but again, key parts of that are open and honest engagement and regular engagement. So it's not that we've given a spec and 6 months later we get something back and it may or may not be what we're looking at. A key problem for us is that there's a lot of different things happening in the marketplace, and we want to make sure what we go live with is a good match for the market as it stands. Again, the TSSG have, from some of the other projects they've worked on in the past, being able to give us insights, and even just hearing some of the stuff today about data protection and so forth, it's all very, very relevant to what we're trying to do here. Blue sky thinking, again, we see the future of this as being something that's going to grow, and we're hoping to be able to position ourselves at the center of that. And again, some of the stuff that's coming out of the TSSG, there will be other opportunities to work more closely, I think, on other projects and things that they're developing in the future. Potentially, one day we could see a scenario where, for instance, your road tax is paid based on the actual mileage driven. You could pay your tolls based on the roads you've gone down. If there were congestion charges, they could be calculated by where you've parked your car and for how long. So all of this is, in 10 years' time, I'd say a huge amount of this will have come to pass, and really the opportunities are there now to place ourselves at the centre of it. We're also very pleased that we've been given supports there from Enterprise Ireland, and again, it's helping us get this far for a relatively small company. What I've included here is a couple of videos just to give you a flavour of what some of the technologies look like and I guess the benefits that they can deliver. So there is sound, but I think we're not going to have it on this. This basically is a driver of a truck checking his side mirrors, having a look down there, and hopefully you can see there, as far as he can see, everything looks clear. Hopping out of the cab just to take a last look, and there we see it's not actually clear at all. He's about to make a left turn, and there's, I think, 11 cyclists in his blind spot there. So it just goes to show the complexities of driving some of these big rigs. A camera solution for a truck like this would include forward-facing, rear-facing, and a side camera on each side. And there are other things that can be added. For instance, you can put alert boxes here, basically, that will alert the cyclist that the truck is actually going to make a left turn. This makes a real difference in where cyclists and trucks are integrating in a built-up area. So you can see the benefits of some of this, and it is saving lives. The next one here is just showing an accident about to take place. We're looking at the road from the cab of a truck, and we're about to see someone come around the corner. Ouch. Thankfully, no one was seriously injured in this. Originally, this accident was reported by the two motorbike drivers. There's a husband and wife, as being the truck was speeding and in the middle of the road. The camera solution here in this instance basically allowed the truck driver to prove that no, actually, you can see here their speed is actually recorded and that they were actually on the right side of the road. Again, this is an example of watch the black car on the right hand side of the video. And here he basically makes a swing across 3 lanes of traffic and into the path of the truck. Bang. If you didn't have the camera in place, you've just rear-ended another driver and you would generally be found liable. This is a video from Mobileye, and it'll just give you a flavor of some of what this technology is capable of doing. So the nice thing about this technology is it actually works real time, interacts with the driver, and allows the driver to react and hopefully avoid an accident.
The system calculates the relative speed in any critical situations.
So here the driver is distracted, taking his eye off the road.
Of an impending collision with the vehicle ahead.
He's received an alert and hopefully has enough time
The system can
to
provide
slam on the brakes.
up to 2.7 seconds before impact, both during city and highway driving. Mobileye, our vision, your safety.
The next part here
Unintended lane departure is the leading
shows lane
cause of
departure.
serious
So again,
accidents.
if I indicate my car and I move across the white line, that's fine. It's sophisticated enough to know I've planned to do so and won't record any alert. If on the other hand I cross a white line without having put my indicator on, it will give me an alert to let me know that I've done something wrong. Again, all of this can be integrated with the tracking system, and we can then model driver behavior based on how many alerts are being generated and so forth. So if you're an insurance company, keep an eye out for this guy. So you really don't want to insure him. I think it does one more as well, just for safe distance, again on the motorway. If you've ever had the experience of things slowing down very fast, or you're maybe not paying 100% attention and someone in front of you slows down very quickly, this will give you an alert basically to let you know, heads up, and get the brakes on. And indeed, in general, it will alert you if you're too close to the vehicle in front, and it's sophisticated enough to take into account things like the speed that you're traveling at and so forth.
It alerts you with a visual and auditory warning. To suit your needs, the system may be collaborated to issue warnings at different ranges of distance.
So that's the technology environment that we're in. There's a lot of different things happening there. The MySafe Drive model is really to push as much of the benefits of this to the end consumer, and do so in a coordinated way. So it's not just going to be black box tracking, it's not just going to be a camera system, it's not going to be Mobileye. There will be different price points, I suppose, based on what combination of the technologies that you want to actually put in place. Mobileye is the most expensive of them all. But there are real benefits there, and to launch this program, we would see us going probably live with a black box and a camera solution to get it live. And as I say, the insurance companies see the benefits of this for a number of reasons. They also have legislation challenges in terms of the anti-discrimination, male versus female drivers, and I'm sure age discrimination is just a short distance away. So being able to actually score drivers on their actual driving behavior is a huge plus for the insurance industry. But as I said, most of what gets delivered as a solution for the insurance industry as it stands at the moment gives the end driver very little benefit. They basically get a discount on their premium, they don't get to see their journeys, they don't get an awful lot of feedback on what they can do to improve their score. And indeed, we've got some feedback from some of the telematics companies that some of this is a pain to do, because consumers will come back and say, oh, I wasn't speeding, or I wasn't braking harshly or accelerating harshly, but it's a balance in how much information to give them, and equally give enough tips basically to change the driving behaviour to make them safer on the roads. The last slide here really is where we want to put the customer at the centre of what we're offering. We see it initially driven by the insurance companies because they'll pay for the kit to go into the vehicles. They are doing this already. We run a couple of programs for fairly major insurers in the UK. We would have Admiral in the UK through a company called Octo Telematics. And again, they're dipping their toe in the market. They're really trying to assess this technology, figure out how much benefits are they getting from it. If they were to say we want all of our customers using this technology, we would have a huge problem simply because there wouldn't be enough engineers across the country to be able to install all of the devices. So we are hoping that it will be a more gradual evolution and a gradual growth story. But across here then we see the other potential people who would be interested in some of the same information, and equally all of these would be willing to give some benefit back to the end consumer, for the consumer being willing to share that information with them. So really from our point of view, we've a lot of visibility of what's happening in the market, but we don't have the core IT capability in-house, and that really is what we're getting off the TSSG. And we mentioned trust earlier on, and that's a key thing for us. This is a big investment for us, and it's key that we get a working solution at the end of the day, and it positions us to take advantage of what we believe is a very big and a very exciting opportunity. Our plan is to launch across the UK and Ireland, but obviously once we get the offering right, there's no boundaries on how far that then could be expanded to. And that's my presentation, so I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Thank you.